All right, this is fun. This is my brother, Josh Mankiewicz from Dateline.
Yes.
Right? Oh,
Yeah.
it's Dateline, right?
On NBC.
By the way, how long have you been at Dateline? Is it 30 years?
I'm starting my 30th year, yes.
Wow, that's amazing. Everything I learned on television, I learned from my brother, both from observing him and from also just you telling me how to do it.
Right.
There was a fair amount of that, too.
Stop doing this, start doing that.
Yeah. Josh is here to talk about number 69 on the New Republic's list of the 100 most significant political films of all time. This is The Best Man from 1964 with Henry Fonda and Cliff Robertson. They are the two main candidates vying for an unnamed political party's nomination for president. And you could make a case it's the Democratic Party. You could make a case it's the Republican Party in 1964.
Totally could be either one. It describes a situation that hasn't happened in modern politics and probably won't happen again, ever, during our lifetimes, which is a brokered convention, a convention in which neither of the two leading candidates has enough delegates. And the movie's about the sort of backroom deals and the infighting and the strategizing and the blackmailing and things that go on to try to get somebody the nomination. And that situation just doesn't exist. I mean, the last time there wasn't a first ballot nomination for a presidential nominating convention was a very, very long time ago.
Yeah, a lot of this film, again, couldn't happen now, but it feels totally possible. There's nothing in this that jumps out as, oh, that would never be the case.
No, I mean, it's great because it's about not just what these two guys and their staffs and their wives and their supporters do. It's about a lot of other things that are still sort of current in politics. It's about the price of success, about how low will you go. At one point, Lee Tracy, who plays a former president and who got an Academy Award nomination for this.
He was in the play. It's a Gore Vidal play. And Lee Tracy is sensational.
He's great in this.
Yeah.
He says to the Cliff Robertson character, you think the ends justify the means.
Well, son, I got news for you about both politics and life. May I say the two are exactly the same? There are no ends, Joe, only means.
And that kind of sums up politics today. I mean, it ought to be a contest of policies and ideas, but it's not. It's about opposition research and attack ads and money. The two stars of this, both, you get the feeling they would be qualified to be president. The year before, Cliff Robertson had played John F. Kennedy in PT 109.
And PT 109.
And The Best Man came out in early 1964, and in the fall, Henry Fonda played the president in Failsafe. And in 1979, in a movie that I took you to see,
really,
he played the president in the film Meteor.
We did go to see Meteor. That's right, yeah.
You still owe me $350.
Yeah, I'm going to get that to you shortly. As I said, Gore Vidal play from 1960. In Gore Vidal's mind, the basis of each of these characters can be drawn to essentially one person with parts of others drawn in. Henry Fonda is an Adlai Stevenson-like character.
Who was criticized at the time for being too reflective, too intellectual, too smart, too thoughtful.
Right, which is a big criticism from the Lee Tracy character. And Cliff Robertson is very clearly mostly Joe McCarthy.
And maybe some Richard Nixon.
And there's some definitely Richard Nixon in there, yeah.
Gore Vidal had this sort of love-hate relationship with the Kennedys, depending on what year and what Kennedy you're talking about.
Right, that's right.
And Bobby Kennedy, who was always sort of described by his critics as ruthless, there could be some of that in the Cliff Robertson character.
Yeah, I don't think I'm giving anything away here with the Cliff Robertson character plays a senator named Joe Cantwell, and he built his name on breaking up the mob by suggesting, in this case, that they had been infiltrated by communists, which is absurd. But Bobby Kennedy's was a different sort of mob busting. I mean, that part is very clearly a little hint of Bobby Kennedy.
Right, and so is the sort of allegation of he'll do anything.
He'll do anything to.
Right. I didn't realize that it's not just called The Best Man, it's Gore Vidal's The Best Man.
Oh, I missed
like
that,
Lee Daniels as the butler or Joseph L. Mankiewicz as Cleopatra.
Right.
Yeah. There are not a lot of movies like that.
That's right. Yeah.
The other thing I didn't realize is that our cousin, Tom Mankiewicz, has his first movie credit on this. He's a production associate. In his autobiography, Tom talks about how at one point they were behind filming, they were behind schedule in filming, and they wanted to cut a scene, but they required Gore Vidal's approval. So they send Tom to the Beverly Hills Hotel where Gore Vidal is lying by the pool, covered in suntan oil.
Right, yeah.
And Tom says to him, look, they want to cut this one little scene. And Gore Vidal holds up his wrist. He says, this is a Patek Philippe watch. He said, it's one of the most beautiful precision instruments in the world. He goes, now, you open up the back of that watch, you take a little thing out, right? Watch doesn't work anymore. It's like I'm wearing a turd on my wrist, right? Tom's like, I'm going to take that as a no.
Yeah,
right. He goes, goes back to the set. They didn't cut the scene.
All right, let's watch The Best Man, and we'll talk more afterwards. Maybe. Here it is from 1964, directed by Franklin J. Schaffner. Henry Fonda, Cliff Robertson, Lee Tracy, The Best Man. Back here with Josh Mankiewicz, who is, in fact, my brother, 30 years at Dateline, but before that, many years as a political reporter in New York and Los Angeles, and nationally when you were with ABC.
And at ABC, I worked with Howard K. Smith, who's in this movie, who was a lovely guy. You know, it was great to see Howard K. Smith again, who was a wonderful guy, kind of shoved aside during the Roone Arledge era at ABC News.
Using those real reporters lended an air of legitimacy to it. I mean, all those, first of all, there's real convention footage there, clearly.
Right. There's a lot of real convention footage. They shot a lot of it at the Ambassador Hotel, which just a couple of years later became infamous when Robert Kennedy was killed there. One of the great things the film does is the sort of backstories, which do still exist today. The deal that Henry Fonda makes with his wife to sort of, campaign with him and be calm and act like they love each other, even though at that point they clearly don't. And the sort of the other people that you have to kind of put up with in politics. One of them played beautifully by Ann Sothern,
right? And
is incredibly irritating, but they put up with her character.
Great. See, Henry Fonda always backing out of the room, like I'm not here.
I don't want to talk to her.
Don't want to talk to her. Yeah.
Shelley Berman, who really steals the scenes that he's in as this sort of whistleblower who has an axe to grind against the Cliff Robertson character, who's so wonderfully sort of oily and dishonest,
and not a character you expect Shelley Berman
not at all,
to
but he
play.
was great, just great at it. And those are the things I think that give the film a lot of real authenticity, even today.
My memory of the film, having not seen it in like a decade, was that Henry Fonda was orchestrated that end a little more carefully, that there had been a conversation, a phone call, at least something that they allude to, but no. Merwin, Governor John Merwin of somewhere in the West.
I'm releasing my delegates, and Kevin McCarthy's like, no, we can still win this.
Yeah, right, I'm releasing them to Governor Merwin, who presumably, I don't know, we might, at this point, could be flying back to Oregon or wherever the...
But in that moment, Cliff Robertson's character knows this is it. I'm going to lose. I lost because of what he did.
Right.
He couldn't win, but he gave his support to somebody else so that I won't win.
Right.
And then there's that great scene with the guy who never says a word.
The next president of the United States,
presumably
Governor John Merwin, ascends the escalator, played by an actor named William Ebersol, who's never in another movie.
I know. And Henry Fonda's left behind in the crowd. The crowd passes him
just
by.
Just go right by him.
Literally and metaphorically.
Even though 38 seconds earlier, he was the front runner to be president.
And now he's just forgotten back there with his wife, just standing there alone. And Merwin's going up the escalator, and there's that moment where they look at each other.
Yeah, and Bosley Crowther in the New York Times in his review commended William Ebersol for his performance. His lineless escalator ascent.
It's the essence of underplaying.
Yes, it is the essence of underplaying. Oh, by the way, you mentioned that Henry Fonda, the same year, later that year, played the president in Failsafe. We both love Failsafe, and Failsafe is on the list. I think it's at number 99 in the New Republic's list of the 100 most significant political films of all time. It's great if anybody hasn't seen Failsafe.
A year earlier, Fonda had played a different Secretary of State, the Secretary of State designate in Advise and Consent.
In Advise and Consent, right? Yeah. Henry Fonda was politically active, and clearly this is the kind of movie that interested him.
And that character, that's the kind of guy you want in politics.
Right. Our father, who attended more conventions than just about anyone alive, and who ran with Gary Hart, George McGovern's 1972 campaign, and worked for Bobby Kennedy as his press secretary in 1968, and then covered the 68 convention after Bobby's murder. I mean, our father was in favor of democracy, actively.
100%.
But bemoaned the loss of smoke-filled rooms where candidates were chosen. He thought there was an upside to that.
He contributed a great deal of the smoke in those smoke-filled rooms.
He did.
A lot of it came from things he had lit. So he was always pretty comfortable in a room like that, whether politics were being discussed or anything else.
Anything else, that's right. All right, Josh, this was great. Thanks very much.
Thank you.
All right, what are you doing for dinner?
Not with you.
Josh is done for the night, but the political movies continue here on TCM. As always, they are uncut and commercial-free.
Next on TCM, I am a fugitive from a chain gang, then City Hall, and later, strike. Workers unite on TCM tonight.